Hello, sir. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Ife. How are you?
Good evening, sir. I'm fine, thank you. How's everything, sir?
Not bad.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so
Greatest
honored
pleasure.
to hear from you and to learn from you. Like, we have so many people coming on, and I'm sure even people who missed this session will probably catch it on YouTube afterwards. So let's just get right into it. Good evening, everyone. I'm not going to assume that everybody here knows who I am because I'm sure some people would have come from your page. So my name is Ife Durosinmi Etti. I'm the founder of AGS Tribe. AGS Tribe is a platform that connects women to each other and to opportunities like grants, fellowships, jobs, scholarships, and the likes. So tonight we have we're so honored to have Professor Konyin Ajayi here with us. He's going to share with us some information that hopefully he's not shared before, some things that have happened behind the scenes, on the way to success, because we just want everybody to know that on the journey to success, some things happen that you just have that can't slow you down, but you just have to keep it going. So the first question I have for Professor Ajayi tonight is, you've been described as a legend in the industry by so many people. You've created such a distinguished profile for yourself and your brand, and this is rumored to extend to your lawyers and even people who are associated with you. How were you able to achieve this?
Okay, thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. So, I think that's a very deep question, Ife, and I think they go to three different philosophical matters. And this is about untold stories of failure, right? So, and I think this is the true story of success, because it is every time that we fall that we have the opportunity to rise. As they say, if a seed does not fall, a new and a better one will not grow. So according to one of the men that I admire, Obafemi Awolowo, in his biography, the measure of a man is his ability to rise from a fall and not be held down by it. So the stories of failure, in life, we hear of this. And the thing that we find is that people of courage, people with determination and the will to succeed, they nearly always fall, but they always buck the trend. And a good example would be the last Emir of Kano. He was removed as central bank governor, and then he got his lifelong ambition of being the Emir. He's been removed as the Emir of Kano, and we don't know what God, has next for him. So so that's just sort of brief philosophical background as to untold stories of failure, because these untold stories of failure really point to success. There's a book which I love called Profiles in Courage, written by John F. Kennedy in 1952 or thereabouts, and it profiles 8 men, and it's all about integrity and courage and bucking the trend, going against what everybody else considers as success. So they're seen as failures. So at that time, they're saying, well, hey, this guy is not successful. This guy is a failure. But they turned out to be some of the greatest people we've seen. Churchill is a man that failed, but then succeeded. De Gaulle, president of France, is a man that failed, but then succeeded. And so these, are people that are then called legends. And as you know, a legend is actually someone who is extremely famous or notorious, and I'm none of these. I'm not famous. Or a legend is about history that is not authenticated. But I think what I say must be true, must be authenticated. There must be authenticity to what we describe. So in terms of who I am and what I've done, in terms of the profession, I would, think in terms of being a teacher, because I think that is where you get the greatest stories. These are people who shape the stories of tomorrow that are not yet told. So I will not speak in terms of being a legend or anything like that, either in law or anything, but I will speak in terms of the firm, Konyin Ajayi. And I will not speak of myself because of another great man I admire, Paul, because he says we must not boast of what we do. So what I will speak about will be Konyin Ajayi, because in your question you said it is rumored, that the lawyers, blah blah blah, are good, and it is true. Konyin Ajayi LP has incredibly outstanding talents. They're leaders in various fields of endeavor. They bear the scars of battle, of success after failure. They have the medals of honor, of fighting the good fight. Because what? So Konyin Ajayi LP is a grind. And you have these outstanding stars that have come from different parts of Nigeria and different parts of the world, and they meet all the stars. And so they're greatly challenged. And so it appears they fall, but every time they fall, because they are people that are determined to succeed, they rise again and they come out a lot stronger. So we must bring industry in defining what it is to be a legend. We must consider where we operate. So you talked about my industry. My industry, unfortunately, the law is in a very sad state. It has lost its place in being a champion of cause of justice, for peace, for order, for good government. We're now an accomplice to those that would describe Nigeria as not a nation, but a geographical expression. So what I have tried to do in my industry is to make a difference by stamping integrity, by creating standards, by establishing good, and by establishing things that will bring about change, because it's our duty to do that. So what I try to do, and my untold story would be that I try to impact positively on people within my subjective environment. I try to be a living sacrifice. I try to be a slave for excellence in all that I do, simply for one thing, not for myself, but in building institutions out of people and in making people better than I have met them.
Wow, that's super inspiring. And even talking to people who have worked with you, they can testify to the fact that, their careers and everything have transformed significantly since they met you, since they spoke to you and all of that. So talking about Konyin Ajayi, Konyin Ajayi is a law firm that you inherited from your dad, and it's a top tier firm in Nigeria and even the world. And you've been able to stay ahead, even though it was passed on from one generation to another. How have you been able to maintain your space in the industry?
Right. So the real story here is that I did not inherit a farm from my father, Konyin Ajayi. He was an institution in himself, in all walks of life that he took. He believed also in building institutions of renown, right? And he was central to the transformation of Konyin Ajayi from being a one-man SME, because he was an SME. It was a small enterprise. It was a one-man enterprise. And he sat down and worked towards the transformation of that small, medium enterprise into an institution that it is today. So it's an institution of over 120, 130 professionals, right? And there are other support staff, professionals, lawyers, accountants, management experts, strategists, technology geeks, digital media people, and so on and so forth. So you have all these professionals. And this is what he did. So, but it is worthy of note, therefore, that every tiny seed, every SME, every one-man business can become a big idea. And that's what is the thing that I like to underscore. Become a big idea, something that will endure the expansiveness that society allows for those that want to better society, right? Society allows us to expand, to grow, as long as you're improving society. So how is it that we have stayed ahead in the race? What is it that we do to overcome our trials and to be in the reckoning? So the first thing is this, and I'm going to come back to inheritance and staying ahead, is that you must, and I'm speaking to, the young people that I love, that you must be in the reckoning. You must be in the race. You must be in the table of opportunity in order to count, in order to be said to be ahead, and in order to maintain your pole position. We cannot rely on the wings of fate or the fortunes of the land to get us moving, in these storms of life to get us to shore. We cannot. We need, therefore, to make sure that we're on the table of opportunity. And that is what we get from education. So what is an inheritance? My inheritance from my father is education and not the farm. Education. That's what I inherited from him. And what is it that we have done to maintain our place? Yes, Konyin Ajayi, LP, is one of the biggest professional service firms in the continent, no doubt. It is one of the, it's been described, it was described by Times of London as the best law firm in Africa. All right? So the truth is, so I inherited education from him. I didn't inherit a law firm because I was part of the building of the institution, and my 12 other partners are part of the building of that institution, and the many, many lawyers that have passed through that law firm, and other business managers, and so on and so forth. The point is this, Ife, we are all heirs. All of us have something to inherit. All of us have ancestors. Now, I'm not talking in terms of wealth, money, possession, fame, fortune. No, I'm talking in terms of the gift of mentorship, of training, of learning, of neighborliness in society. These are things that we inherit, right? So these are things that we speak about, that we must take from our subjective environment. We cannot and we should not look at what dad or mom have done. We must look at our environment and let us speak from it and inherit it. Inherit the earth and build on nature's gifts. And then if we are lucky, we have something from somebody, fine, we use it. So Konyin Ajayi LP, for the better part of 40 years that I've worked in it, I've worked in Konyin Ajayi for 40 years, give or take 1 or 2 years when I was, more than that. So I was in school, went for my PhD, went for my master's, youth corps. Take those out, I've been in Konyin Ajayi LP. And it's been, as Churchill said, years of tears and of chairs, untold stories of failure. Going back to the theme of this year's series, of lost bids, of disappointing results, of unfavorable decisions, of lost cases, of hurdles bred in society by mediocrity, by corruption, by unexpected departures of great lawyers that I love to work with. Some of them leave for good reason. Some leave for bad reason. Some think that the grind and the trial is too much and the failures that we experience are not good for them. But in each case of failure, of these pains, it was an opportunity for rebirth. Each one was like a stress test that CBN talks about for banks. Each one was a way of building what I will now call anti-fragility antibodies, because we're not talking of coronavirus, COVID-19, and they're talking of a new vaccine that has T-shaped cells and antibodies. So what these things do for us, these stories, untold stories of failure, is that each one is a vaccine of anti-fragility. What do I mean? We would always come about shocks. So we're all talking about COVID-19, but there have been other shocks before.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Step outside the urban centers in Lagos and go to those areas where there's wrenching poverty, a lot of illiteracy. They come against shocks every day. Our state is fragile. So what is it that we must do? This is how we stay ahead. What is that we must do? What is that I was doing from a very young age? Planning. Plan, plan, plan. Assume that there will be shocks. So have foresight in your planning. Be resilient. You must be resilient. And you must have liquidity. Right? How do you have liquidity? We cannot spend all the money we have. You must have the discipline to save. Right? So today, we're struggling in Nigeria from the unexpected pains of COVID-19. But if we had saved properly, if we had been disciplined, we had personal discipline, and also if as a society we were engaging in proper civic responsibility, we were exercising our rights as citizens properly, we were challenging our leaders, we were insisting on proper conduct, proper governance, we wouldn't have had the problems we had. All right? So we all have a right under our constitution to a good life, to liberty, and as the American Constitution says, pursuit of happiness. My question, therefore, as I leave this subject, Ife, is what is happiness, right? What is happiness? Is it chasing and waiting for my daddy's inheritance? No, that's not happiness, right? Happiness is what frames everything that we do and what our pursuit should be. And happiness should be, for me, in giving birth to something that is better than you. That is the ultimate happiness. So just imagine if as a mother, you give birth to a baby. You love your baby. That's your greatest invention. That is your success. So for everybody that you mentor, for everybody that you coach, for everybody that you teach, that is successful, right? That really is the untold story. And this is what has happened in Konyin Ajayi. So we have a transgenerational law firm, right? Within our walls and within the mind of the partnership are people of 4 different generations. So the youngest partner is a chap we call Disal, and Disal is not 40 yet, he's not 35 yet, and he's a partner. And he joined as a youth corper.
Wow.
And you then have someone like Shea Passion, a senior advocate of Nigeria, who joined the firm in 1986. So that's 34, 35 years. So he's a partner. And you have people in between. And so, yes, we have a generation of partners. Some of them were met. Some of them worked with Konyin Ajayi, the founding partner of the firm. So he gave birth. He hired Shea Passion. So if you like, he hired me. He hired Shea Passion. So we were, the first generation that, he passed on the baton to. And then we hired other people. There's Ibi Ogunbiyi, a great phenomenal mind, and Yomade Shambara, a brilliant banking lawyer. And then they get back to the Gisals of this world. And then we do have a thick line of succession on the farm of great minds that we hope will continue to impact and transform lives in our society.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing, and I think all of us have to learn from that. Having the different people of different ages in an organization would really impact the growth of your organization. Thank you so much for that. Also, rumor has it that you're almost, in fact, you're like the smartest person in the room, and I've also witnessed this before during one of the book launches where you were speaking, and I was like, oh my goodness, like this man knows everything, like the way you speak and everything. How have you been able to learn all the things you've learned over the years, and how have you, used everything you've learned to impact people, today?
Okay, so First of all, in my view, Ife, is that time and space don't belong to us. Time and space belong to God. And so time and space bear relativity to untold stories of failure. What do I mean? So someone says I have failed because of time today. All right. So I start my SME. All right. I decide to open a new restaurant. Right. December last year. I opened it with funfair. I've done my business plan. Boom. Come COVID-19. All right. They blocked us all up. I can't do anything. I borrowed money. All right.
Wow.
So someone would say, oh, well, his business failed. That is because in relation to this time and the context, it has failed. So it is whether I now decide whether that is a failure or I'm going to look for opportunity. As Ibukwawo Shika has said in a number of her seminars, that you have people that are making beautiful garments for ladies, right? So we are not going to parties again. So, no Iran Buba, no, dance dress and all that. So decided to start making masks and, PPEs and scrubs. So they were resilient, which is what I spoke about earlier. So what is it that we do? So as I said, I like Paul. Paul says, I cannot boast. I don't agree that when I come into a room, my voice commands the respect or holds attention. But what I can say is that with respect to impacting people, with respect to creating a brand of renown, is a matter of integrity, sagacity, fidelity, perspicacity, foresight, singularity in audacity, right? You must have singularity in audacity, which then brings us to ingenuity, innovation, to creation then in you of a personality of ingenuity, because that is the ultimate goal. How do I become a personality of ingenuity? That person you speak about that commands respect, whether in the courtroom, in the meeting room, in a seminar, or anywhere. How do we do it? It's by these things. Integrity is the first thing, that I spoke about, and it's very important. And it's also, I talk of perspicacity, of foresight. So as a young person, without now, so it's the buzzwords, future of work, work of the future, well, those things, but we practice them, and I'll come back to that. The future of work is what I had in my mind when I was young. What is the future of work? So, and that goes back to resilience. So Konyin Ajayi is working full-time now, from home, all of us, the 120 or 130 or 140 of us are all working from home. Why? Some time ago, we invested a lot because of discipline and foresight in technology. So we're virtual. So before the virtual world came, we were virtual, right? And so we came up working with young people. There's a young lady who is a lawyer, but then is an artist, Georgette Mono, in the office, who, and some other very young people, Tomi Faduju and Michelle Agazzi and, Joba Akinola, we call him Bishop, young people who then, come up, to me and other partners and say, well, why don't we change some things around? Why don't we change the workplace? This is what happens in Google. And I said, well, yeah, I'm ready. But you know what, guys? We have to go beyond that. Let us enjoy tomorrow today. That is the project. We want to enjoy tomorrow today. So before work from home started, we had started working from home. We had started flexi hours, right? We had started dressed down. You can come to work the way you want. You can come to work the time you want, as long as you are responsible and you have fidelity to the job. Was important, right? So bear in mind that today we now talk of the books on management and on leadership and stuff like that. Now, those ones prevalent when I was young, The books that were available then were books, biographies and history and stuff like that. And those are the things that influenced me. And what also influenced me was reading and hearing from prodigious and big guys in society. People who had, like my father, a mental and a physical library. A mental library and a physical library. My wisdom of my mother, but things that I learned from. And these were the things that assisted me to get into what I call the personality of ingenuity. The personality that speaks in a room and commands some respect. And as you know, Ife, part of that is a bit of acting. So,
that's funny.
The future of work pushed me in this direction, indicating that it's about the environment in which we work. The environment in which we work must embrace not just livelihood, but style and fashion. Right? So in Konyin Ajayi, we spend a lot of money on the chairs we use, on the desk we use, the paper that we use, the ink that we use. So before branding became fashionable, in 1990, Konyin Ajayi hired S1U, an advertising agency, to design for us. Well, before then, we had used another firm, I can't remember the name. Rabbi Mapai was the business manager of the firm. Ogilvy Benson, yeah. They designed our complimentary cards. This was in 1984.
Wow.
And then in 1990, we hired S1U, Julia Oku, God bless her, assisted us to design our first brochure. This was at a time when, you just wouldn't think of that. We had an architect to design our office and to make it homely and friendly in a manner in which people could be expansive and could bubble with ideas. And also, right, as I said, you look at fashion of the person, because it is the person that will yield fruit. It is the person that will work and do something. So we call something the blue ocean in Konyin LP. So we say you are blue. When we say you're blue, it means that you got swagger. Swagger in sense and swagger in style. So we do these things, and we are a community of warmth, a community of friendship, a community of openness, right? And because of the openness and transparency with which we operate, right? The friendliness which we try and engender, all right? We come to a lot of innovation. And so the two things on which I stand today, Konyin Ajayi LP and the Untold Chapter, are two institutions that have done well in terms of innovation. Untold Chapter, as you know, has been running absolutely, if I must say, wonderful webinars about COVID-19. And this is to bring comfort and assurance and make sure that there is no failure in society as a whole, right? So we do these things because for us, another important point, we must bring refreshing and newness to people, right? So we must pour ourselves. What do I mean, Ife? If I have an idea and I hoard it, I'm not going to think of a new idea. If I have an idea, I must shed it. I must pour it so that I have a new idea. Like the human being, if your skin does not peel, if your nail doesn't come off, you're not going to have new nails. You can have new nail vanish. You know that. So we use these principles in the things we do. A good friend of mine, a great philosopher, a great mind, Tunji Ladner, talks of the difficult pursuit of common good. He says this is difficult, pursuing common good. Sacrificing for tomorrow, sacrificing the things you have for other people is tough. But we must do it because we must believe, as I do, I think, in shared prosperity. Because this is what underscores what the world is now today. It's a world of connectedness. So, Ife, let me end this. The rare handle on innovation, the point about innovation for me is that it's all from God. Innovation is of God. That is the point. He just uses us, human beings, as vessels of His grace.
Wow.
Right? And this is the thesis I pick up from one of the best books I've read. And I you know, it's a really great book. It's a book on science, like the history of science. But the central thing for me is that it talks of the infinite ways in which you see the awesomeness of God through the microphone of the voice of the most brilliant minds that we read of and that we see operate.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. I love what you said about branding and how you've been able to infuse branding into your business, because it has really set you apart over the years. A lot of people don't really understand the importance of branding. They feel like it's something they do when they get money or when they have money eventually. But if you imbibe, if you have a good brand from the beginning, it would make a difference, you know, the way it has, set you guys apart. Wow. Okay, so you're talking about, how you used to read a lot. So it's going to take me into our next question. We'd like to know 3 books that have really shaped you. Or what 3 books would you advise the audience here to read?
Well, I don't know what the audience is, whether the audience are millennials or Generation X, Y, or Z, or my mates. I don't know. But to be frank, for me, if it's challenging to speak of 3 best books. It used to be easy when access to information was purely analog, i.e., just a library somewhere, right? So, but with digitization, commoditization, the curve to knowledge, right, I think is flattening because there's access through the internet to a lot of information. So there's a lot of materials that are out there that are standing out in our minds that affect what you do. So for me, Ife, the spoken word in character, right? By the way I behave, the way people behave, the spoken word, because our character speaks. The spoken word in character and the wisdom in the words of people of courage and integrity that we meet in our journey in life are things that have influenced me. That is the greatest book that I've read. The character and the words of great people, right? And who is that character? What is our favorite book, right? If I take off, right, my robe as a priest, my gown as a lawyer, and my role as an academician, and I don't think of the Bible, that would be my father's pilgrimage in life, my father. And he has such vastness in his achievements and the things he did. It's really untold. But he has a small book called Lest We Forget. There's a little teeny weeny bit of his life in that. But let's leave aside my dad and let's leave aside the Bible. 3 books. Number 1, and I just say something anecdotal. When I just finished my O levels in 1975, my father more or less said, okay, Konyin, Norman Vincent Peale, Power of Positive Thinking. I read it when I was, I don't know how old. Go and read it. So I read the book. This fragile teenage mind at that time was molded by that book. Because rather, that was an age, right? 1975, finished school SAT. I was going to prelim in university. That is the age of discovery. You discover yourself. Is the age where temptation is greatest to do interesting stuff. It's time when you're a real Malian, okay? Right? When you step forward and you want to do stuff, okay? But it molded me because that book, what it does is that it points you to positive thinking to being expansive in nature, to being hopeful. And these are the antidotes to failure. So the way in which the untold stories of failure will be reduced is if you have positive thinking, right? Now, so that's the first book. So it's just about positive thinking, thinking positively. And so for me, I think positively of every situation. If someone disappoints me, I ascribe to him good, right? I don't ascribe ill motive to him. So I'm always positive. I'm never daunted, right? And therefore, it helps you in being resilient and is your first vaccine of anti-fragility. Second book, I mentioned earlier, Purpose and Courage by John F. Kennedy, written about the same time, about 1952, is a very thoughtful and persuasive book that teaches you about grace under pressure. When you are failing, you need grace. Because if you don't have grace, you can't have swagger now. If you don't have grace, you cannot talk the talk. You can't walk the walk. Because when you are failing, or when you have failed, you need to walk the walk and talk the talk so that people will think you've still got what it takes.
Yep.
When you have grace under pressure, you are able to rise and you're able to think. So this book talks about admirable human virtues, as I mentioned, of courage and integrity, right? And he uses the life of 8 senators, as I mentioned, that defy the odds of the time. People who stood for their beliefs. So, we're in a society where it is difficult to stand by your belief, right? If you have a good belief system. So you have a good belief system. And so you believe that you should have integrity, you believe you should do things properly, you believe you should not bribe, you believe, you should climb the ladder of life, you believe you should not be yahoo yahoo, you believe you should not be like hush puppy, blah, blah, blah. But then you know what? Hush puppy is trending more than Ife.
True.
Well, was trending more than you. So, and hush puppy is there and then telling you, you're saying plain, don't worry about those guys, you can do this. And you're like, okay, maybe this is what I should do. Right? But it's against your beliefs.
Yep.
Right? So, this book showed me that at a very young age, that I must stand firm by that character that I saw in the book called Konyin Ajayi. Right? So that was a great book. And so you had these 8 senators, and he profiled them. He speaks anecdotally about other people, like de Gaulle, as I mentioned, Indira Gandhi, and one other man that I love, John Wesley. Maybe I'll talk to him about him later. And the last one is the book I mentioned, A Short History of Nearly Everything by a chap called Bill Bryanson. It's actually a science book that seeks to make, just breaks down the greatest inventions, from black hole theory. When you read Black Hole Theory by Stephen Hawking, the guy who wrote the book, and you get confused, right? And so he writes about guys who discovered penicillin, electricity, and all those things. He breaks it down, but then he tells you of the man who studied chemistry and tells you of how the man was really writing from a vision that God was the one that was speaking to him. And that's the central thing that I get from that book, right? That I must ascribe everything to God. The book is an eloquent tapestry of knowledge, absolutely brilliant writer. He writes a lot. I recommend the book, right? It's not about, don't worry, you're not going to find leadership and management and no. But it's going to show you, it's going to humble you. You're going to read about great men, see how simple their lives were and how they were able to achieve this thing. So those are the 3 books that influenced me.
Those are powerful books, and they actually sound like life transformational books, and that's, I think, what we actually need. We can learn things like management and all that with our everyday jobs and all that, but those life transformational books are everything. So my next question for you is, what is your magic? What is your routine like? Because you are so busy, you're super busy, you're a stand, you're running your law firm, you know, you also have a church, you're a reverend in your church. How do you manage your time? What is your routine like? We really, really want to know.
Okay, is it routine or magic? What are you looking for?
Both, please.
Okay, so I don't own a church.
Okay.
Right? I am chaplain of a church
Okay.
in the oldest church in Nigeria, Methodist Church in Nigeria. That's the oldest church in Nigeria. So I'm chaplain of just one church. Right?
Okay.
And Konyin Ajayi, LP, I'm one of 13 partners. But having said so, what is my magic? You know, what do you mean by magic? And we have to define that, right? You know, magic is an application of beliefs, actions that people employ to manipulate things or subdue things naturally, like Professor Pella. I don't know whether you know who is a great magician in Nigeria. Or magic as in just make things disappear. Forces, right? But you know what? Magic. So to the man in the village who doesn't understand science, telephone is magic. GSM is magic. Plane is magic. Like, how can this thing fly? Is magic. And to the scientists, the herbalist or the priest that prays for you and heals you, to him is magic. So what is it that I do, and how do I cross these lines? And I you know, what I do is that I command every waking morning, I command God the Most High to grant me the consciousness to realize that He is the source of all things. So I wake up in the morning and I am speaking to God and I'm commanding the day that God let me know that you own this day and you will order my steps. So He is first of all ahead of me and I leave Him to order my steps. Now, I am not saying for any reason that we should just pray and then do nothing. He orders my steps. And that is my routine. But what is my routine, Ife? What is my magic? What is my secret? My secret is being a transparent sheet of paper. Right? If you take my phone, I don't care. Take my phone. No, you can read it. I have no secret. My secret is that I have no secret. My software, my software in this hardware, right, is seeking to do good and seeking to be right by my fellow man. That's my software. My hardware is integrity, simplicity, humility, kindness, warmth, friendliness, trust, and patience. That is my hardware, right? And as I said, my software is doing right. So what is the secret? I have a formula for it. I borrowed it from a chap I mentioned, John Wesley. Do all the good you can. 1. By all the means you can. 2. In all the ways you can. 3. In all the places you can. 4. At all the times you can. 5. To all the people you can, as long as ever you can. That is my secret. Do good by all means, in all ways, in all places, at all times, to all people, as long as you have this breath. Now, as long as you just, I think, well, that's my secret, and that is my routine. That is what I do every day. That is my machine. That is my treadmill, right? That is my treadmill. And in seeking to do good, right? So the scientist who is seeking to do good, let's use Steve Jobs. What did Steve Jobs do? He just looks at the computer. So when I started using the computer, I had to cram things, right? So use a mouse. I had to know Control A, B, Control X, Y, Control C, K, right? So he just said, life can be easier. If I do it this way, it will be easier. He looked at a wristwatch. I can make this easier. If I do this, it will be easier. So innovation comes from wanting to make the life of people better. And not necessarily when you just want to get rich.
Hmm. Wow, wow, wow. So the most important line here is do good.
Do good.
Anytime you have the opportunity. Very, very key, very, very important. Thank you so much for that. That is real magic actually, because once it always comes back. It will come back to you, it will come back to your children's children. It will always come back.
Very, very true. That is the truth. The wind behind the sail of good does last so long is unbelievable.
Fantastic, fantastic. Wow. Oh God, today is hot, and it's looking like we're going to spend over an hour. Please, I hope you
Okay.
don't mind. Okay, because what happens is Instagram cuts us off by one when it gets to 1 hour, but we'll just come back and do it all over again. Same thing. Okay, so now I'm going to my next question. In fact, is this even a question? We're super, super excited that yesterday you celebrated 40 years since you've been called to the bar. So can I see you guys liking it down there? Just continue liking. That's our way of saying congratulations on 40
Thank you very
years
much.
behind the bar. Congratulations. And thank you so much for fighting for everything that you believe in through your profession. Also, your achievements look almost unbelievable, like almost unattainable, especially in these times. You've worked in several sectors, you represent a wide range of clients in Nigeria and abroad. And you also played a key role in the Nigerian banking sector reforms and the recent power sector privatization. These are no easy feats. So can you talk to us about some of the challenges you faced on your journey, this long 40-year journey? Like, we really, really need to know.
Okay, so on the journey of 40 years. So first of all, is to give thanks to God. Obviously, it was yesterday. We were called, on a Saturday 40 years ago, and my classmates and I, and we had a list of our classmates that have died, about 80 of them. That's a lot of us, right? So we must thank God that we're here today. We're alive and we can celebrate. So first thing is to thank God. And but it's been interesting 40 years, professionally. And as I mentioned earlier on, it's been peaks and troughs and ups and downs. But the constant has been, the secret and the routine of just trying to, improve things, not focusing yourself, but focusing on people over you have influence. And that could be anybody, right? So, Konyin Ajayi has LP, I would say Nomi, has been a pioneer, has worked on the biggest transactions, the most innovative transactions, the most complex transactions we've had in this part of the world, right? At least in the last 45 years, right? So we've just had the good luck of being there, of being selected to work on these things. And some of them are very painful because, and this takes me to the problem of our country, and I'd like to talk about this and segue into it just very slightly, that because our country, unfortunately, suffers from huge mediocrity, when you come up with anything that is new, you meet a lot of obstacles. And so you're doing something that is moving the society ahead, something that is going to revolutionize the landscape. And then the people that it will benefit, or will also be part of the beneficiaries of this thing, are the ones just standing in your way. So the biggest problem is just hitting your head against the wall, when you want to get things done. Now, that has been most painful. So we've had some clients. It was a very young man. He's moved on now, who about 10 years ago wanted to set up an alternative stock exchange, but they killed his idea. Government choked it. They had their knee on the throat of this great idea, and you'll have moved the stock market way ahead of where it is today. Now, I was personally and emotionally invested in that idea, because one thing that we do in Konyin Ajayi is that we invest ourselves in the ideas and in the business proposals, in the problems, and in the opportunities of our clients, so that become, and in that will become their trusted advisors. It's very important as a professional, as a trader, as anything that we do in any vocation, that we're trusted advisors of the people that we deal with. And the way to do that is by investing in them. So so we love it when our clients succeed. We love tombstones. We love, when it says, it's not the money. We don't do it for the money. We find our esteem in the success of our clients. That's what makes me personally happy, that person has succeeded, that business has been done, that Dangote refinery is being built, that Nigeria LNG has been built, that AMCON exists, that the banking sector has been reformed, that AFC exists, okay? That the foreign exchange market was liberalized, okay? Those are some of the things that we worked on. And those things just give immeasurable joy, all right? So when at times our clients are unable to achieve what they want to achieve, it's very, very wrenching. It's very, very painful. So talking about the banking sector, so we've been working on the banking sector, but I have, since about 1987. And my first intervention in the banking landscape in terms of changing it was with the creation of NDIC, Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation. They created it, and I was one of the very first lawyers that they hired that helped them in shaping a lot of things that they did. Fast forward, Soludo, we had what you call the Soludo solution. Because of the things he did, we now have really, really nice, big Nigerian banks. And I helped NDIC in cleaning up the banking sector before then. The Soludo came, and we had that, and Konyin Ajayi was able to work, I believe, on about 60 or 70% of the banking reforms of that time. Then comes the Sanusi tsunami, which was the real big reform. And you just have to give it to that guy, right? I can call him that now on this platform, but he's just one of the most incredible minds this country has ever produced. He's just such a great Nigerian, an asset to this nation, a gift to mankind. And he was always ideating and thinking of what can we do to improve the system. And we were there with him as a trusted advisor, also ideating. And the good thing about it is he loves a debate, and I also love a good debate. And we were always debating ideas, and it was out of these debates that some of the greatest things that have happened in this country occurred. And, we talk a lot about cleaning up the banking system, about creating new banks, creating AMCON, but beyond that, the work he did, worked on inflation, okay? He worked on exchange rates, he worked on foreign investments, and a lot of other things. And so we were there with him, working on these things, making sure that these things happened. So I will give credit to that, to him, not to us. But Konyin Ajayi LP had a great team. We're also working with Kola Udenyi and Co. And worked in doing a lot of the things you see. The concept of bridge banks, right? It wasn't a statute, but just one line. So giving flesh to that skeleton was what we did. And it was great thing indeed. And in terms of power privatization, I give that to my partner, Wale Mieson, a brilliant, I think he has a chemical mind. His mind is chemical. And, with him was, Jonathan Aluju, prize winner, Cambridge scholar, Ibi Ogunbiyi, another great, she's phenomenal. Ibi is phenomenal, brilliant Oxford, finance law expert. They are the ones really that drove power sector, privatization. I tagged along with them. We've been involved in some litigation that has helped to clear the space. But what did this take? It took tears, blood, and sweat.
Wow.
It was hard work. People's leave had to be cancelled. I remember Anu and Ibi were pregnant. They had their babies. They had their babies. They didn't go on maternity leave. They were back at work. It wasn't demanded of them. The office did not say you must come back. They, out of their sense of fidelity and out of their passion, because they were interested in being part of history. This is what they were looking at. It wasn't money. It was being part of history. It was being part of these untold stories. So these are the people.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know what happened that you couldn't see us.
Well, fine. Okay, we're back.
Yeah, we're back. We're back. We're enjoying what you were saying. And when I came back first, I was just talking about how you're talking about the people who have helped you on your journey, like Mrs. Ibiokubi, who you spoke about, and I just love how you even mentioned some of these people's names, because at the end of the day, it just shows gratitude. And I received a frame recently that said gratitude is a magnet for miracles. And once you have that mindset that you have to say thank you, you have to be appreciative of people, they're always super dedicated to whatever cause you're on. So thank you for that. Okay, back to what we were talking about before. Yeah.
So so there were challenges, as I said, even with private privatization. There were ups and downs. The financing, everybody thought the buyers of the discos and gencos would get money from abroad. There was no money from abroad. Nigerian banks gave the money. Unfortunately, Nigerian banks give short-term money, not long-term money, not patient capital, which is what you need for things like that. But in spite of these things, I must give it to the Nigerian banks. They funded all this, and we are where we are. So yes, as I said, there were challenges in the way. A better part of the challenge, as I said, is just the problem of Nigeria, the mediocrity in the system. And today, the young people will take it up as a cause, will take it up as something that is important, to make sure that those that govern us properly. Right. It is very important. Otherwise, we're going to continue not being able to achieve our optimum. I look at the Nigerians, the talent that this country has. It is incredible. We have incredible talent. Why we should be where we are. Nigeria was better than Singapore at independence. Okay, a professor was on CNN a few days ago, and he was speaking about how he showed videos of Singapore in 1960. It was worse than anything we had in Lagos. They had gang wars, and all, prostitution, and no time. They transformed the society because it was merit, merit, merit. But we lost the way. Okay. So these are the things that I think we need to look at, and it is my challenge to all of us that form the majority of the population, that we must not look at the easy way of doing things. We must look at what it is that will build an enduring society, a sustainable society in which we'll all be able to thrive. In a few years' time, Nigeria will be the second largest country in terms of population in the world. By another 50 or so years, Nigeria will be about 800 million. India will be 1 billion. And China will be just, a bit lower than us. So, yeah. But that should be an asset, not a liability.
Very true. Wow. Thank you so much for that. You also have a diploma in theology. What informed that?
Okay. So, I did not dream to be a priest. I dreamt to be a lawyer. And I'll tell you probably how that started. So my father was very, very meticulous, very neat, very debonair. That's him. I don't know. That photograph is him. He's a very fashionable man. And, his grandfather was called Abu Gonshoro, which means someone who takes his resplendent clothing from plenty, right? So he was a very, very colorful man, conservative, but very colorful. Had great dread sense, matching everything. So he would come back from work every day. He was practicing. He comes back. We're very close. We're a very close-knit family. my father we were my father's friends. And so he'll come back and he would get ready for the next day. So his shoes, his socks, his trousers, shirt, tie, wig, everything. He lays down, somewhere in his room. And so I really used to be fascinated about these things. And there was a TV program called Perimesin, which also fascinated me. And I think I was a bit argumentative and had a sense of justice. So I wanted to be a lawyer, but I never thought I'll be a priest. And about 20 years ago, I had the urge. My parents were very, very strong Christians. My father was what you call a lay preacher. He was an organist at the time. My mother was a choir master. My father's father was the first Christian in his village. My mother's grand aunt was the first Christian in her village. So, Christianity holds very strong in the family and is something that we grew up with. But I never thought I'll be a priest. So I had the urge, the inner feeling to do this. And that's how I decided to go to school for 3 years. And I was in school for 3 years, part-time student, the Methodist Theological Institute in Shagamu, and came out with this.
Wow, fantastic. So obviously you like reading. Okay, so did you have any mentors or sponsors on your journey? And if you did, why do you think having mentors are important?
Okay, so my father was my number one mentor. And so was his great friend, Obafemi Awolowo. I worked with Obafemi Awolowo. I was his assistant. I was assistant political secretary of Unity Party of Nigeria, 1978, 1979. So I was quite active in politics. And I was fascinated by him. I have owl caps, which he gave me, which were made for him, and which he gave me. There are some books which he gave me. There were rare books, and the books on philosophy. I used to do a lot of poetry, and at times I would share my poetry with him, and he would comment on it. Obviously, he was a great writer and a great philosopher. So he, like my father, were people that I looked up to. But I have also been sponsored in life by noble men and women on whose broad shoulders I use as steps in the ladder of life. And there are many, many of them. These are people who made me know, as I said, that time and context belongs to God, and that the story of failure only sounds in the end. In the journey of life, that I fall now does not mean I have failed. That is not failure.
Yes.
The story of failure comes at the end, but really, really, when we're gone, is when people begin to talk about you. Right? That I'm successful at 20 doesn't mean anything, because I may not be successful at 40. Right? So that is why. So I've come to learn this from what I call sponsors. These are people that help you to have, they're like a compass in a world of shocks and disruption. Like, so growing up, I first knew the manual typewriter. So the typewriter was, and I'm not sure you know it.
Oh, yes, I do.
Right? So that was the first thing that was used. To photocopy, they had something called the psychostyling machine. Now, so the telephone was analog. You could only speak for 3 minutes. It would take forever to call London. Even from London to call Nigeria took forever. So when I was doing my PhD, it wasn't really easy to call Nigeria in 1987. So in my time, I've seen us move from manual typewriter to electric typewriter. Then, to show you how we should think as a young man, this friend of mine, Irabo Emapaye, whose father is one of Nigeria's greatest artists, was agent for Minolta, and they introduced this typewriter, which had electronic memory. It could store only 3,000 characters. And I was one of the first people to buy that typewriter. There were no computers then. Computers then were as big as a room. And I remember we had a client that was brought to us by that time called Arthur Anderson, a guy from Florida. So he came for a meeting. He was selling palms in Borno State. And he came to the office. We did his agreement. We sat down and he said we should correct it. So I said, okay. So I went, because you had this electronic typewriter, corrected it. The man said, how the hell did you do that? Because he himself had not seen anything like that before. Right? So, and so these are things that, so I'm just talking in terms of disruption. That I have seen a lot of disruption in my time. Electronic typewriter, then the first set of IBM 265 computers, then Apple came, and then fax machine came, and then we had internet. But internet then, you send a message, you press the button, you sit down, take a cup of coffee before your message gets to where it was going. And this made business, disruptive for people. Yeah. The market moved, the market changed. And so in a market like that, you need sponsors. As a young man, walking up and down from one end of Broad Street, from the General Hospital end of Broad Street to the other end of Broad Street by the marina, walking, looking for work, talking to people, selling your service, okay? Things are changing. So we're having new banks, new merchant banks. It was a new changing landscape, and you had to adjust to it, okay? So, and how do you do this? You need sponsors. You need people who would say, I remember. Someone will say, Harvard lawyer. So you have someone, a friend who says Harvard lawyer, and says, come, I would help you. These are sponsors. These are unspoken heroes that help us in life. But if you're humble, they will help you. If I went around and said I'm a Harvard lawyer, well, they're not going to call me. So you've got to be humble, right? Don't toot your horn. Don't blow your trumpet, but show who you are. Let your character speak for who you are and the things that you do. All right? So, disruption is here every day. And what is important in mentorship, in sponsorship? Education. Something that Obama says is not a question of degree or certificate. He says it is attitude, action, language, behavior that matters in real life. Education. So this is why we need mentors. This is why we need sponsors. People that we learn from. People who educate us and who make life better for us and make our stories those of success and the untold ones of failure only stepping stones to success.
Fantastic. Wow. Thank you so much for that. So do you have any regrets or insecurities?
Okay. Ife, I am an irredeemable optimist. Irredeemable optimist. I'm just, all right. And that is been molded by the greatest book I read, which I didn't talk of before, which is the Bible. Right? The Bible is not untold, it's not just about untold stories of failure, which you have. The central theme of the Bible is about hope and assurance, future. Right? Even if you leave out Christ, the Bible is just about hope. The Bible is a beacon of hope. It's an assurance of the future. So this is what I read and this is what I imbibed. Because of this, and I mentioned to you before, that I trust people. I ascribe good to people. So I don't have any insecurities. Okay? I don't have insecurities. What I have is that, and what I know, and why you don't have regrets, is that when you place your hand on the plow, you've thought about it very well. You've mapped out your plan. You place your hand on the plow, and you're moving on. You meet hurdles on the way. You meet disruption. You meet coronavirus. You haven't failed. Don't take it as failure. Don't fall. Okay? Change course.
Mm-hmm.
Go around the hurdle and proceed in life. Change strategy. Change gears. This is what life is about. We have to plod along. We must not be faint. We must not be weary. So I have no insecurities or regret. My only regret, Ife, my biggest regret, I look at
Sorry,
the
we didn't get
wondrous
that. I think
gifts.
the
I
phone cut
survey
off.
this country.
The phone cut off, so we
Yeah,
didn't hear
all right.
that.
I
Your
said
biggest regret.
my biggest regret is you and me. I in action, you and me, Ife. You are an influencer, Ife, and I don't know what you're doing with your influence in making sure that we change the governance structure of this country. What are we doing? How are you galvanizing people? Now, what do I mean, Ife? So, in Nigeria and all over the world, there are different types of infrastructure and institutions. Stomach infrastructure, which was popularized by Fayoshe, but which was not his creation. Physical infrastructure, roads, bridges, houses, social infrastructure, health, education, social welfare. In Nigeria, what is it that is important to us? When elections come, we all think, most of us, of stomach infrastructure. What is it you need for me? Right? Not necessarily that, oh, they give me 10,000 naira to go and vote. Is that, this one I'm voting for, will I get a contract? What is in it for me? So it's stomach infrastructure. The next thing we then think of is, he has built a road, he has built a bridge. Nobody talks of the schools that they built. Now, your grandfather, Adigbenro, worked with Awolowo.
I know.
Lamido, Sanusi Lamido, spoke at our webinar and said, look at the Southwest, look at what Awolowo and his mates did. Education was the most important thing to them. They had what you call an education economy. They spent 45% of their budget on education. And guess what? The first TV station in Africa, the first stadium in Africa, the first industrial estate in Africa, the first skyscraper in Africa, and on and on and on. The best civil service, the best university, all on in the Western region because of education.
Yep.
And what your grandfather and Awolowo and the Debbies and the Gudarus and the Nahurus did is what is still carrying the West today. And that's what the former emir said, that the Southwest is not disadvantaged because of education. But we have ignored this, and we have ignored our healthcare system, and we focus on these other things. I'm not saying it's not important to have roads, but what is the purpose of building a road when the driver that is going to drive on the road doesn't know how to drive?
Yep.
What is the point in building a nice hospital when you have no doctors that are trained? So what has COVID-19 done? COVID-19 showed us that our governments are useless and have failed us. They could not distribute palliatives. Our hospitals could not deliver on health. We are not doing any serious testing. What did we do? I thought that we will use that as opportunity. This is my regret. The opportunity to say, enough is enough. National Assembly, you cannot be earning $480,000 when doctors that make life and death earn $5,000. What are they doing? We heard today at the House, Senator Pabio, Minister for Niger Delta, said, well, yeah, all these contracts that we are chopping at NDDC, most of it came to you, members of National Assembly. We should be revolting today.
Yep.
We should be annoyed. NDDC spent in 4 months 8 billion naira on nothing. They spent 1.5 billion on COVID palliative, but they spent the money on themselves. 10 million to one, 500,000 to one, 1 million, 3 million. It is unfortunate. The second head of EFCC said our politicians need to go to psychiatric hospital, and it can only be true. Because you ask yourself, what are they doing with all this? But, Ife, what are you and I doing? This is my regret, that we're doing nothing to change this society. We're not demanding of our leaders. We're not saying we must do the right thing. Guess what? They can't kill all of us. They can't lock all of us up. We have to be passionate about these things, and we must take our future in our hands. This is what I regret. We must make sure that there's good social order so that our society is sustainable.
Wow, fantastic. Well, we're all, that's why we're doing all of this. We're all going to try to make a change and demand good leadership from anyone who goes into office. And we young ones also need to start looking into going into political office and taking charge and just trying to make a change in our own little corners.
If you should look at it, the Prime Minister of Finland is 32. The four most important people in Finland are all women, and they're 32, 31, 33. Gowon was not, how was Gowon when he was head of state? And he did well. How old was Bill Clinton when he was governor of Arkansas?
Wow.
How old was Barack Obama when he was a senator?
That's true.
Yep. So not saying we should be trying. You should take reins. We should change. We should. You control the vote. You should not vote for anybody that is above a certain age and that has no merit in them.
True.
And I hope it happens.
Yes, it will. It will. I think there's a change coming. There's a change coming, and the younger ones are beginning to get involved.
We'll see.
We will get involved. We'll get involved. In
Okay.
fact, we're already involved. Actually, we're already involved. Little by little, we'll get there. So,
Okay.
You're a chaplain and you're a lawyer. How have you been able to marry the two? What are the hardships of being a lawyer and being a man of God? Are there any conflicts or difficulties you've encountered?
Okay. Truth be told, Ife, right? It has not in any great measure, right? Not really. Because the only challenge I've had is that it has taken out of the time that I had that was devoted to everything else that I was doing. And now I am a chaplain, I'm a shepherd, and I'm responsible for the spiritual and physical, not just spiritual and physical well-being of people and of society. That is the work of a priest. So there's no hardship in being a lawyer and a man of God. There's not. And to say there's a hardship is to believe that legend, that cliche, that lawyers are liars. All right. But honestly though, the practice of law, the business of law, the vocation of law leaves a lot to be desired. It's no secret, no secret at all, that our justice sector is not one that will help us have a sustainable society. The triumvirate of mediocrity, indiscipline, and infidelity that we call corruption, and the truth that the love of money is the root of all evil has eaten deep into the legal system and into the judiciary. So that is the hardship, that is my regret, that is my pain. So these monsters, I don't think corruption is a problem of Nigeria. I don't think so. Corruption is a symptom. Because we are mediocre. As the Emma said at a webinar, he said, we choose mediocrity. We choose mediocrity and call it all kinds of names, federal character, this, that, and put the wrong people in office. And as long as wrong people are in office, standards will continue to fall, the institutions would fail, there will be leakages, and therefore the people will continue to engage in corruption. That is what mediocrity does. That is what indiscipline does. We, you and I, we're indisciplined. We don't obey the law. We also want, when we get to the airport, we want to jump the queue. When we're in traffic, we want to drive against traffic. When we go to the passport office, we don't want to queue. We would rather bribe, So we're indisciplined. Called corruption. Because no fidelity to principles, and because we love money rather than find esteem and look for good, we have these problems. And so I call it COVID-X. That's what I call it. And COVID-X has been with us before COVID-19. And I think it brings more danger to us. So, Ife, Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world.
Yep.
Right?
Correct.
Most of the poorest people in the world live in Nigeria. The rate at which India reduced poverty is the rate by which we increase poverty. We're a literacy capital. We have terrible mortality. We have prize for having the worst police force in the world. These are the problems that I have. And the police is part of, the legal system. And so as an ordained priest, you must speak the truth. You must be like prophets of old. As a lawyer, you must speak the truth. So if you're a lawyer is described as a minister in the temple of justice. So if you look at it, a lawyer wears a wig. Priests used to wear wigs. A lawyer will wear a gown. The gown of the lawyer and the lawyer of the priest are more or less the same. Priests used to wear bibs. Lawyers wear bibs. Collar. Lawyers wear collar. So we are in the same mold, and we're supposed to be doing justice, to be bringing peace, bringing order, be truthful. That's what we're supposed to do. That is what a priest is supposed to do. But so for me, I would speak it as it is when I'm on the pulpit. I will call you out. It doesn't matter to me. And if I'm doing my legal work, I will speak the truth. So there is no difference in my life as a priest and as a lawyer. Indeed, they should complement each other.
Yeah.
So, as I said, the important thing is we deal with COVID-X. Hardship, is just, it comes when you are in our society at times, when you decide to do the right thing. So you want to get a building permit, the civil servants would frustrate you. They'll make a life. So it took me about 5 years to get approval on the land I bought. I wasn't ready to deal. There are people who will get it in 2 weeks, but I wasn't ready to do that. So they bring hardship onto you. So hardship at times is swimming against the tide, and it's truly profiles in courage. I've encountered plenty of that, and I'm happy to continue to swim in that untold story of failure.
Wow, fantastic. So now this brings me to my second to the last question, but it's very, very important to me especially. How do you manage your workload and still live a very balanced social life? Like I've seen you with your family, I've seen you with your nieces and your nephews, and you guys are so chill that everybody is everybody's brother. Like you don't even know who his cousin or his family friend. Like you guys are really close. How have you been able to balance that out?
Okay, so love is central to life. So whether you're a Muslim or you're a Christian, the agency of God is a human being. Nobody has seen God and is alive. So if you say you love God, how do you love God if you don't love your fellow human being? So love is central to life. Relationships are central to the things we do. And, we know now from COVID-19, from physical distancing, that social distancing is not good. We want to shake people. We want to hug people. We want to be with people. We don't want to keep talking to people over the phone. We like to sit down and have a chat and have something that is animated. But it is what it is. So a balanced life for me is central to the untold stories of success. A balanced life is just too important, because for me, the definition of work, of this work, is in the utility of the work. What is the work doing? What does this work mean? Okay, so I'm working to make money. Okay, I'm working to make a name. I'm working to have an esteem. But so esteem to who? To human beings. Money. What is the use of money if I can't spend it? If people don't know I have the money. So there must be social interaction, and we have to bear that in mind. As the Bible says, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? What does it profit a man to work so hard and have no social life? So, I mean, for me, the true test of success is in the balanced life that we live. Everything must be, with a good sense of measure, and we need to we need to relax. We need to enjoy, the fruits of this work, and we enjoy it when we're sharing it with people. When we know that connectedness is the only way. When we know that the, the the ability to continue is in refreshing, and the human machine, our body, we're told by scientists, needs to rest in order to recharge. They say that, and they're told that, depending on the hours of the day, the brain, repairs everything and resets everything. So, I mean, it's fundamentally important. Yes, it could be tough. So I'll give you an example. When my kids were very young, before kids, I would work very hard. So, and when we had kids, what I would do was I would come home, play with them, they go to bed, and I go back to read or do my work. And I would take them to school. I had no problem picking them up in school. All it just meant was that I have to sacrifice something. And again, as I mentioned, Ife, we need sponsors in life. Our greatest sponsors are members of our family. My father was my sponsor. My mother was my sponsor. My greatest, the people on whose shoulder I stood before I met my wife were my brothers and my sisters. Well, my brother and my sisters. And then came my nephews and my nieces. And then the Ife, who is my nephew's friend, and and so on and so forth. So they are my network. So today, right, I have most of my friends are the friends of Olamide Odubogun and the friends of Feyi now, Ayodele. And so my network is from my nephews and my nieces. Those are my best friends today. My friends, my age mates are also getting tired, they're slowing down, they travel out, they spend a long time abroad. But I'm always with young people. They're my friends, they're my sponsors, they're my family. And they give my life meaning. And it is in social life and in social interaction that a lot of businesses are also built. So Ife is my friend, and she comes out, Uncle Konyin, so do you know that, we young people were thinking of, music is great, and I never thought of music, so I started doing music law. So if I don't know an Ife, I would never know that Instagram, for instance, is a way to have this engagement. So this is why it's important to have a social life with an Ife who can show me. So I've never actually had a conversation about Instagram. I have an account, but now I know I can have this discussion. I never knew this. So if I didn't know Ife, how am I going to know it? Thank you, Ife.
Thank you. Thank you for obliging me. Thank you. Fantastic. So now the last question. Please, what are your last words to the upcoming legends who are watching this what will I call this series? What are your final words? What is your advice, to anyone who's watching today?
Okay. One, be true to yourself. 2, have your eye on the future. 3, try and leave tomorrow today. What do I mean? I'm not saying spend tomorrow's money today, but be an innovator that draws down the future of work and the work of the future today. Brown University says it trains people for jobs not yet created. You need to build a reputation for yourself. Yeah, you need to build a reputation for yourself. And when we're doing this, and we're building a reputation, and we're climbing the ladder of life, and you're succeeding, please be humane with the people that you deal with. The people that work for you, you have to be humane with them. They ultimately are responsible for your success. They are your sponsors, if not your mentors. Thank you very much, Ife.
Wow, today was mind-blowing. Like, I'm super excited. I'm sure everybody here has learned so much. I'm sure they also have questions, so I'm going to use the last 15 minutes to just, get questions from the audience, and you can also respond. I'll be reading the questions from them. I think I can already see some questions here. Okay, someone is saying, given that you are an irredeemable optimist, what is your outlook for Nigeria as a country in terms of economics and politics? So, yeah.
Okay. So my outlook is that you, the questioner, would join with others in making sure that you bring our leaders to account. That is the only way in which you can secure the future. Now, look, every state in Nigeria has huge mineral resources, every state. No state governor should be looking for federally allocated funds. Nigeria is full of super duper talent. 3, we are great consumers. 4, we love life. 5, we are warm people. So this is a natural market. We would succeed, but we cannot succeed. Our potential will not come to light if we continue with mediocrity, indiscipline, and infidelity, which disguises itself as corruption, which will continue if you and I, and also you, do not seize the reins of power. This is the challenge. And guess what? If you just are focused only on your business, the mediocres will spoil your business for you. They will make laws, they will make regulations that will damage your business. Outlook is good. Nigeria is going to be great. Rest assured. Because I believe in the youth of today.
Fantastic. Okay, someone is asking, what inspires your eternal drip and cutting-edge color combinations? Most lawyers dress very conservatively.
Well, I've told you already, my dad, and I told you, see, I was going sure. See, how, can you see that? See how colorful his attire is? So he's got on blue shoes, and his resplendent ashoke is in, he's got some fuchsia, he's got burgundy, he's got dark blue, matching cap, shoes made to style. Now, it's also very important, as I mentioned, that, as psychologists say, that people, form an impression of you within seconds of meeting you. So what we vocalize is important. The way we speak is important. The way we look is important. Now, this is not about flamboyance. It's just about your personal style and having an eye for detail. Look, you don't have to have many clothes. You just need to be neat and presentable, right? Just be nice. Just be neat to yourself. Define your style. Let them know this is your style, and you're okay. Professor Wole Soyinka doesn't wear suit. He doesn't wear buba and shokoto. He has his own style. He's known for it. He's defined by it. So that's it.
Okay, someone else is asking, aside from social media and running for office, how exactly can we change the narrative and make a difference as young people?
Okay, so first of all, by holding leaders to account, by calling them out, by speaking truth to power, right? And by being unafraid, by being brave, right? So that's very important. That's the first thing. So the fact that you say, Minister X, you're not doing right. Minister Y, you're not doing right. And you galvanize people of his constituency. Because you know it's possible to remove legislator. If you have enough votes, they will recall them. They can do that. If we put pressure, a lot of public pressure, Jonathan removed many ministers when people complained about them. Jonathan did, for all the things you say about Jonathan, he removed a lot of ministers. Right? Unfortunately, Buhari is unable to remove any minister in spite of all the complaints we make about him. So we can complain and we can do that. But we need to play our own role in trying to ensure that we operate in accordance with proper operating standards. In your own business, in your own work, so if you're an employee, serve who you are serving as if it was your own business. Treat the man's business very well. Try and make good money for him. Right? So, Segun Agbaji does not own GTB Bank. Segun Agbaji was employed as a young man in GT Bank. He served the bank well. He rose through the banks. And he has redefined GT Bank. Bola Adiola and Tai Aderounmu created the bank. Bola Adiola was MD for a long time. The bank was green, a little orange. Tai Aderounmu came, turned the bank to orange, changed the bank, rebranded it. Segun came, he's made the bank the digital bank. He's now going to something else. And guess what? He doesn't own the bank. Pepsi International has made him a member of the board of directors because he's serving the bank as his own. So it is not only your business that you must do well, even somebody else's business. And you're not going to set up your own business. If you work somewhere, just do your best and leave the rest.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Someone is asking, what are your thoughts on the recent ban by CBN on processing Form M for corn importation?
Okay. I think that, well, we start with the economic sustainability plan of the federal government that was drafted by the vice president and released on June 18, a day before he came for Emmanuel Chapel webinar. And it was adopted by cabinet about a few days after. And in that plan, they say that they want to make sure that the foreign exchange market is operating efficiently. When they do that, there will be no need to ban anything. So what we're doing now is that the CBN has, we had about 4 exchange rates. We have what we call the NDF, which is non-delivery forwards, which is like you buy a contract and saying that in a year's time, this will be the exchange rate. You have what you call the import and export window, which is what most people use. You have the CBN rate, which is the lowest rate, and you have the black market. So CBN has tried to merge its own rate with the import and export window. So we still have 3 rates. And so as long as you have this market differential, we're going to keep having these problems. If you have one rate, you have one rate. It will go up, it will come down. Now, so the truth is, yes, we need to develop local industry. We need to develop local agri. But we're 200 million. Economists and agricultural economists say that our agricultural harvest suffer 40% loss every harvest. We have 40% inefficiency. So we don't have enough food today to feed the nation. We don't have enough wheat to make bread that we eat. So what should we do? If they ban these things outright, food, we would suffer because there's not enough to do. I will continue to encourage local manufacture, make it business friendly for them because government is not making it. Government is not business friendly. Government is just focused on collecting money from us and making regulations making life more difficult. Government should be saying, what do you need? What do you need to plant corn? Okay, you need fertilizer. Okay, I'll help you. You need loan. We'll talk to bank. You need land. I'll talk to the governor. They'll give you consent. Government helps you, makes the place easier for you to do business. You ramp up, and then we begin to reduce. So, except we have local capacity, there's no point in buying it because we're just going to suffer. And when they ban it, they didn't ban importation. They said you won't be available for the preferential rate. And so they'll still buy it. So they're still going to buy it. I'm still going to buy the corn. But instead of buying it at 306 or 380, I'm going to buy it at 470. So it's going to come back to me.
Oh. Wow. Okay, so last question. And I'm happy that you spoke a bit about politics just now. And you said when you were working with Awolowo, you're also in politics. So are you ever going to go back into politics? This is the final question for today. No, we need people like you. We need people like you in politics.
I'm a priest now.
You can.
But having said so, I mean, the president of Honduras, of Haiti at the time were former priests. Truth is, a priest must be very political. So I am political. I'm political as a priest. What do I mean? I get involved in politics. I criticize and I applaud. I cannot be neutral, but I'm not partisan. I'm not a member of any political party. But there are priests that feel so strongly about things that at times they shed their gown and get right there in politics, making sure that there is change. Thank you very much, Ife. I have to go. I'm sure you're going to release me right now.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We really, really appreciate you, and we learned a lot from you tonight.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Hey guys, thank you so much for sticking with us till the end. Today was absolutely amazing. And I hope you guys join the AGS Tribe community. You can literally join our community through the link in our bio. We have over 100, in fact, over 1,000 women in our community doing amazing things across Nigeria. We even have people from other parts of the world. So please join our community. Link is in my bio. We're doing amazing things and we have so many amazing things coming up. You guys we're good spots. Auntie Dara, I see you. Auntie Dara was my plug for Uncle today. She's a superstar. Thank you for always coming for all my sessions. Like that's Prof Ajayi's sister, and she was just my plug. I was like, Auntie, please, I beg, I need you. Thank you. I really, really appreciate you. Shout out to Bemini as well, and me, Emmanuel, to both of you. You guys help me, redesign my questions and just make me look, intelligent because I was shaking yesterday. Thank you guys. Thank you. Tonight was amazing. Like I learned so much. I'm going to watch it again and jot some things down. I hope you guys jotted a lot of things down tonight. Anyways, I gotta go home as well. I'm still at work. So I'm going to just, end it. Follow AGS Tribe on Instagram. Join us. I will also share this replay on YouTube so that other people can also watch. But if you guys enjoyed it, share it on social media. Let everybody know that AGS Tribe is popping. I'm so excited. Oh my God, tonight was good. Like I was really scared earlier on. I was shaking. I don't know why, but I'm getting there. I think maybe it's because this is also my first Untold series of failure in about a month and a half. So I was still getting my groove on. But I think well, it went okay. It went well on my own part. But obviously, Prof gave it to us. That's boost. So anyway, thank you guys. Thank you. You guys were super amazing. Thank you so much for joining as well. Especially because I just announced it this morning. But obviously, Prof has a lot of fans. I knew that people will come strong. Like so many lawyers, I've been seeing them. All of them, writing. Thank you all so much. Lamdi Odibogu, I know that you're not here. I'm sure you're being a superstar. In the hospital in America. Well done on everything. You guys are all super amazing. Thank you all so much for joining tonight. Thank you. Let me go home before they lock me out with this whole coronavirus thing. Before somebody stops me on the road. Yes, and he really gave us time. Like, I was like, hey God, we used to keep this thing to an hour, but thank God, he came back and he made it super, super amazing. Like, Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you. I'm trying to see if you guys have any questions for me, but I don't think so. Um, Thank you. Love you, Auntie Dara. I can see you. Love you guys. Love you all. I can see all your comments. Thank you. Thank you. The comment section, yes, it was really funny. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wally Bakri, I see you. Anyways, okay, let me go. All right. Good night, guys. Bye. Join AJS Tribe community. Very, very important. It's literally 5,000 naira monthly or 50,000 naira for the year. We have super amazing sessions like this. We also have sessions which are only for the members of the community inside our community. And it's not, we don't put it out anywhere. So only members can actually benefit from those kinds of webinars. And we have that every week as well. So join us. Bye, guys. Mwah.